Hi guys, welcome to Targeted Fit. We are here today with Jenny Toribio. She lives in Johor, Malaysia, and we are going to talk about her experience living abroad. So let's get right into our interview. So welcome, Jenny.
Hi.
All right, Jenny. So let's start out with talking about where you are right now and what you're doing currently.
I am in Johor, Malaysia. I am teaching at an international school. I run the EAL department, and I also teach one English class for the Cambridge IGCSE.
Okay. So for those that are not teachers, tell us what EAL is.
That's English language acquisition. Basically, is English as a second language when students are learning it because it's not their mother tongue.
Okay, awesome. So Jenny, let's go back to a while ago and talk about when you were in college. So upon graduation, what was your original career plan?
My plan was to become a teacher. That didn't change. As soon as I graduated, I started working at the school where I did my student teaching.
Mm-hmm. So did you imagine that you would end up moving abroad at that point?
No idea. No idea at all. I never imagined I would leave overseas. I thought I will be teaching in the US forever.
Yeah, teaching, retiring, right? Seeing all of your students.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. So, what made you decide to move abroad and take this adventure on?
I moved the first move I made was to Florida. I was teaching in New Jersey and I didn't like the cold weather. And I said, I need to go somewhere warm. And picked up my family and we left and moved to Florida. And once there in Florida, I taught for about 5 years
Mhm.
at a middle school. The year before I left the middle school, I met a couple. And, we start talking as you do during lunchtime. And they were telling me how they were not happy with their experience in the States after coming back from being overseas, teaching in Africa. And they were talking about their experience there and how they lived in this big house and had a maid and the kids really wanted to learn. They were not disrespectful. Everybody was really nice. And the only reason why they decided to go back to the States was because they had kids and they wanted their kids to be close to the family. But then they said, we made a mistake. We are not going to stay. We are going back. They really didn't want to raise their kids in that environment. What they described to me was like, oh, I had no idea I can actually teach overseas.
Yeah.
And when they talked about how safe they felt and how education was in another country, it made me curious. And then that's when I decided that I didn't want my daughter to go to school in the States and be exposed to the things that I was seeing in the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I had the opportunity to go abroad, that I wanted to take that opportunity.
So awesome. Yeah, it's always amazing. It takes just meeting one person that can change our life
Yeah.
course. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So when you decided to make that change, how did you go about finding a job?
At the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because they gave me an agency that I can go to, that which at that time it was Search Associates. They're still working now.
Okay.
So I joined the agency. I had a person that was just my counselor, the one that I was in contact with all the time. And she said that because I had a husband and a daughter, and I had two dependents, and he wasn't a teacher, it would be very difficult for me to find a job overseas. Many schools prefer teaching couples or single teachers that teach, not teachers that have tag along to dependents. But then in that conversation, when I was talking to those two teachers that talked about their overseas experience, there was another teacher that I was teaching with, and she said that her brother worked for the Department of Defense, and he was a teacher for the Department of Defense, which is the US government. And then I said, oh, so maybe I'll try my luck with the Department of Defense. So I went and I applied with the Department of Defense as well. So I was with Search Associates and I was with the Department of Defense, and an opportunity opened up to work in North Carolina with the Department of Defense. And I talked to my husband and I said, this sounds like a good opportunity for me to get in. What do you think? And he said, well, once you're in, maybe you can get what you want. So let's take it. So I took it. And I moved to North Carolina for 6 months because the position started in December. So I wasn't in that position until June. And just like he said, that put my foot on the door. And then I got a call from Japan.
Cool.
And I got offered a job in Japan. So that was like, it was great. All I needed was to get in. And once I was in, then I had calls from different schools. So I started working for the US government.
Cool. So what year did you go to Japan?
That was in 2007.
Okay. So that was the beginning of the dreams coming true.
Yes.
Cool. So with going abroad, did you have to have any additional credentials or licensing other than your state license as a teacher?
No, because since I was working for the US government, all I needed to have was my credentials for the US, for the United States.
Okay.
And then the Department of Defense issued their own teaching certificate based on the one that I had. So they issued their own for me.
Okay. Now, what about, I know you've worked outside of Japan and gone to other locations. Let's talk about the other places that you've been and taught. And, along with that, did you need any additional credentials?
I've taught in China and Taiwan and St. Thomas and South Korea. And all I have needed so far has been my degrees. They do ask for a copy of your degree. Sometimes the original, like in Korea, I had to have the original diploma. They didn't want a copy. So they do prefer teachers that have a master's or higher. Minimum qualification is usually a bachelor's. They will prefer teachers that are US accredited, that have their professional teaching certificate from the US or the UK. Those are favorable ones that they prefer.
Right.
Aside from that, I haven't need anything else, just my diplomas and my certification from the US.
Okay, awesome. So now let's talk a little bit more about your experience in living abroad. What has been your biggest challenge, or what was your biggest challenge, do you think, in finding a job abroad?
The biggest challenge was finding a school that will allow me to work there and have my dependents. So having dependents was my biggest challenge. There were really, really good schools that I liked, and they liked me, but they didn't hire me because I had two dependents.
Okay.
So for me, that was a hindrance at the time. However, there's still a little rainbow at the end, and there were some schools that didn't mind. So once I learned that, when I was searching for schools, especially with the Search Associates database, you can go into the school and look and see if they have an issue with hiring you, if they have dependents or not.
Okay.
So then I started just targeting the schools that will allow me to travel with my dependents. So I had to shift my search.
And why do those schools have an issue with dependents? Oh.
Okay, first is in my case, having a spouse that was a not teacher meant that that person was not going to be able to work.
Okay.
Meaning that with one salary, I had to be able to support a family of 3, myself plus my 2 dependents. So a lot of places, especially in Europe, the tax bracket is so high, it's 40%, that if you have 2 dependents on top of that, then you don't make enough money to support your 2 dependents. Okay. So that's the reason why a lot of schools prefer teaching couples. That way, both of them are teaching, and the likabilities of you staying in the job are higher than someone that cannot make enough. So obviously, if they hire me, but I'm not making enough to support my family, I won't be able to stay long. I will have to leave and find another job. Other schools don't offer tuition for your dependents, which means that you will also have to pay for that, for your child to go to the school. Some schools offer 50% off, some schools offer free tuition, but not all the schools are the same. So that's another reason why they prefer teaching couples or teachers that don't have dependents.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so as far as life goes, so what types of challenges have you faced working abroad as a woman living abroad?
I will say for me, it hasn't been so much being a woman. It's more of understanding and learning about other cultures that has been a challenge. Knowing what to do and what not to do that could be offensive to others. Beginning with Japan, how, remembering learning how to eat with the chopsticks, because you go to many restaurants, they don't have forks, they don't have knives. So you have to learn how to eat with chopsticks, but you also have to learn that you don't stick your chopsticks in the rice, because then that signifies, death for them. Little things like that are not a big deal, but for them it is. Like taking off your shoes as you come into the house, paying respects when you go to different places. So for me, it was more adapting to new cultures that became a challenge, especially after living in Japan and seeing a culture that is so organized, so clean. So, I can't even explain how Japan is. It's just amazing living there. And I remember moving from there to China. It was like, oh my goodness, day and night.
Yeah.
And having to understand the Chinese culture and the shouting and the spitting all over the place and how, they cut in front of you in line, and it was crazy. So having to accept as well those changes in culture has been challenging. But as a woman, I really haven't taught anywhere where I felt that I had any obstacles that I had to overcome.
Okay. So what would you say would have been the joys of living abroad and working abroad?
The best thing is the education that you get from the different countries, learning about the cultures, understanding their behavior. I remember when when I moved to China, I was talking to my girlfriend and I was showing her the bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately made a cultural connection to the Chinese people that work with her at work. She said, now I know why they stand on the toilet. She's like, I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't understand. Every time they go to the toilet, they stand on top of the toilet, like they leave the footprints. And I never understood why. And now that I see their bathrooms, now I understand why they do that.
Yeah.
So,
like,
you know,
yeah. Like here in Taiwan, in the Western toilets, you always see the sign, don't stand on the toilet. So yeah.
yeah, so it's nice to be able to make those connections. And I think now, after being overseas for 14 years and mainly in Asia, I am able to identify when someone talks in a different language. At least I'm able to know if they are Korean, Japanese, Chinese, from Thailand, Vietnamese. So that helps me not to make general statements and think that everybody's from China, because they do get offended. You know, Japanese people, Korean people, they get offended when they are called Chinese. So at least I'm able to distinguish the languages, and I'm able to identify where people are from based on those languages, which has broadened my knowledge of the world and the cultures. So that has been the most exciting thing. And also the food. When we go to a restaurant in the States and it says a Japanese restaurant, it is not the same. Not at all. A Chinese restaurant is not even close to a Chinese restaurant in China. So the food experience definitely has been a plus.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like when we went to Macau for the first time, we were like, oh, this is what Cantonese food is really like, and it was amazing. So I think we, in our travels, always experience, what the food is truly like. And most of the time it's way better than anything that we ever could have imagined in our supposedly, what would you say, like supposedly Japanese or Chinese or whatever restaurant in the States.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about, as far as, your journey of living and working abroad. Is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
I wish I had done this from the beginning, since I left college. I wish I had known about working overseas right as soon as I left college. I don't regret my decision at all. And it's the best thing I could have done, and I should have done earlier.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same. Like, I wish I'd have gone abroad to live abroad earlier as well. So with work-life balance, we know in the States, everyone lives for the weekend because they're working like crazy during the week. So how would you say your work-life balance abroad has been different from your work-life balance in the States?
In the States, I felt like I didn't get a break. I worked full-time, and I also had a part-time job. Whenever I was on vacation, I was working my part-time job.
Wow.
And I was working all the time. And yes, I had time where I relaxed. I had times where I did other things, but I didn't have really a quality of life like I have overseas. Being able to work one job for 14 years has been really good. Having my weekends to myself and to family, and to do things, to travel around and discover different places. The life here is not as fast as it is in the US.
Right.
People here are more relaxed. Japan is a little bit more like US in terms of that. But here in Malaysia, it's so much more relaxed. I leave work and I go to the gym. I have time to work out. I have time to come home. I go out during the week. I go out on weekends, and I don't feel pressure. I'm at peace. I feel
Yeah.
rested.
And
It's
that's,
just different.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. It's an awesome feeling to not have that pressure, I think.
And people tell me it looks like you're on vacation all the time. I'm not on vacation. It's just that my life quality, the quality of my life has changed, where I'm able to do more things because I'm not worried about making money.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is just to enjoy and have fun. I'm not longer concerned about making money.
Exactly. And that's an amazing thing to be able to say for a teacher, especially because, like you said, working in the States, working as a teacher and then working part-time, I think that, because I come from a family of teachers, so I think that is pretty much the life for a lot of Americans that are teachers. They have to work a part-time job, or they have to work through summer vacation because of the pay for teachers. So I think that that's really amazing that you're able to experience that, and only have one job. That's a good thing to say as a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
So what about safety concerns? Have you found any safety issues, or is safety better in the countries that you've lived in?
I am extremely glad that the first country I lived in was Japan, because Japan is one of the safest country in the world. And living there taught me that before I move to a country, the first thing I do is look at the safetiness of the country after living in Japan. And I have to say that most countries in Asia are pretty safe. But I still do my research, and I still, whenever I arrive to a country, I ask the locals, and I try to educate myself in terms of that. I've been very, very lucky where I've lived. And even in China, I was in the second cleanest city of China, and extremely safe. I was there by myself most of the time. And it was extremely safe. I had no issues with walking at night. Once again, in that particular city, it was extremely safe. That doesn't mean there's no crime, but I never felt that I was in danger. Same thing in Korea, very safe. Here in Malaysia, where I live, is also safe. However, there are places that I avoid because there have been issues there. So at nighttime, I stay within where I live, my town. I don't go into the downtown area because the downtown area is a little bit busier, and there have been issues before in the past, especially at nighttime. So I avoid places based on experience from locals, right?
Right.
That they've taught me. So right now, where I live, I'm pretty safe. I can leave, sometimes I leave a place at 3 a.m. and I just walk home.
Yeah.
I'm like 10 minutes away, and I have no issues doing that. But I wouldn't do that if I was in downtown area. I wouldn't even go there at night on my own.
Okay. So it's, I think it's kind of like being in the States. You need to know what the good part of town is and the bad part of town. Even though in the States, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't walk anywhere at 3 o'clock in the morning. But in Asia, you can.
In the States, I wouldn't either. Yeah, in the States, I wouldn't walk anywhere at 3 o'clock in the morning. Here, I'm pretty safe doing that. But I wouldn't do that in the States.
Yeah, ever. So.
Yeah.
All right. So what tips would you have for women that are thinking about or trying to move abroad?
I think that the first thing I would do is have an open mind. There will be some cultural shocks and you need to be prepared for that. So you need to have an open mind. You need to be able to adapt and understand other cultures. There are things that they'll do that we won't like, but that doesn't take away from them, right? Like the slurping in Taiwan, you know.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. But I think that the first thing is have an open mind, be ready to adapt, and also educate yourself. I think part of the issues that we have is that sometimes we are ignorant and we try to place everybody in a general category.
Yeah.
But if we educate ourselves about the culture, then we can learn from them, and also we are able to understand and adapt better to any place we move.
Okay.
Another tip is learn something from the language.
Yeah.
Local people love when you can say something. Chinese was extremely difficult for me when I tried to learn it, but at least knowing how to say hello is at least something that show that you have respect for the culture and for the language. So I would definitely learn basic words that you can use with local people, so they feel that you want to be part of their country and you're just not there to take, but you also giving back. So that's kind of nice. And the last tip I will do is do your research. Don't go blindfolded into a place. When you decide to move abroad, you have to do a lot of research. Ask people that work in those places where you want to go work, and find out as much as you can about the job, about the position, and about places to live before you move in. Because once you're there, you're there. So you have to do all your research before.
Okay. Yeah, those are really good tips. So I had one other question as well. Healthcare. What has been your experience with healthcare abroad?
That one has been challenging because some schools offer really good healthcare. When I was in Taiwan, I had really good healthcare where I barely pay. I will go to the doctor and pay $3. In Korea, I had really good healthcare. Even if you want to do acupuncture, it was like $7. Wow. I could go to, it was part of the insurance. I could go to any doctor and pay, very little money. However, here in Malaysia, insurance has been really bad. The school where I am, the insurance doesn't cover anything unless you stay overnight at the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So anything you want to do is not covered. It has to be an overnight at the hospital, or it comes out of your pocket. This year alone, I've spent a lot of money out of pocket because it's not covered by my insurance. And as I mentioned to you before, prior to starting the interview, I'm having hormonal issues. And just the initial going to the clinic and getting the initial testing done and all that was $1,000.
Wow.
And the medications that I have to take monthly, because it's monthly and it's indefinite, we don't know for how long, it's over $500.
Oh, wow.
So for me, not having good insurance here is definitely a negative.
Yeah.
So it's not the case in all the countries, but this country, the insurance definitely. And it's not all the schools, it's the particular school where I am, because there is another school that they have better insurance, but our school doesn't. And we already complained about that, and they're trying to work on that.
Okay. So it's the plan that the school has purchased, basically. So in Malaysia, it's not a national health system like it is in Taiwan.
They do have a national health system, but it's for the locals, not for foreigners.
Okay.
So local locals have very good insurance.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are foreigners, so there is a big distinction for them between locals and foreigners. When it comes to hospitals and doctors and things like that, I have
Mm-hmm.
found that there are really, really good doctors overseas. In
Mm-hmm.
every country I've been, I haven't had an issue with the doctors. The
Mm-hmm.
doctors here are qualified. Most of them actually don't study here, they study overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the UK, they go to the US and Australia. So or most of the doctors that I go to have study overseas, and they come in here, but they speak very good English and they are excellent doctors. So when it comes to finding good doctors, I haven't had an issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
here in Malaysia, it's just the actual insurance that has been
Okay.
an issue.
And
The
so with,
quality of care, the quality of healthcare is good so far.
okay. Okay. So with the medications, do you find it easy to find those medications, or, things that you need to help you as far as like supplements and that type of thing? Is it easy to find there?
It's easy to find. They have websites also where you can order. There is one that's called Lazada, and that's like the Amazon here in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Mm-hmm.
everything you need, everything you need. So from supplements to clothing to anything for the house.
Mm-hmm.
So having access to supplements and medications is not an issue.
Okay. All right. And you also mentioned that you were eating organic food. How is that, the ability to find that in Malaysia?
Very easy, very easy. You have, I go to a supermarket, but you can
Mm-hmm.
go to regular farmer markets that the farmers are the ones selling their products. So you
Mm-hmm.
have organic products that you can purchase locally and with no issues. I prefer to go to a supermarket because I don't want to go into town to find the markets where I know to buy directly from the farmers. But it's very accessible to find in Korea as well. Very accessible. I live next to a market, so it was easy for me to get my products from the market close to me in Taiwan as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it has been an issue to find organic items here.
Okay, awesome. All right, Jenny. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to interview you and sharing your story with us. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And I also enjoyed talking to you and talking to everybody about my experience overseas. I hope that more people join the living abroad and working abroad. It's definitely rewarding.
Yeah, it's definitely life-changing as well. So
Yes.
awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. And thank you all for watching this episode. Please remember to like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories from more women that are working and living abroad. Don't forget to visit us also at my website at targetedfit.com to learn more about my coaching and resume writing services. All right, guys, see you next time. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for watching my video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to comment and let me know what other topics you'd like to see on the channel. Also, take a look here at my website at targetedfit.com. I work specifically with women, helping them to craft a unique career fitting their definition of success and happiness while working remotely and abroad. Take a look at my coaching services and book today. Hope to talk to you soon. Have a great day.